Program, B.S. English. Course, 19th Century English Novel. Topic, Significance of the title in Pride and Prejudice. Prepared by Dr. Shahryar Khan. Question. What is the significance of the title of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice? Introduction. Some critics are of the view that the title Pride and Prejudice does not hold any significance. Jane Austen has used it because, in her time, antithetical titles were popular. F.C. Fox warns that the readers should not be misled by investing the title with more significance than is warranted. On the other hand, there are many critics who think it is structurally and thematically essential to the plot. A.C. Bradley says that it is not a mere title but a structural principle. Stuart Tave thinks that the title describes mutual education of Darcy and Elizabeth. Darcy's pride of his status is humbled by a girl he thought was lower than him, while Elizabeth's prejudice is dissolved by the discovery of Darcy's real character. We should also keep this in view that Jane Austen's first title for her novel was First Impressions, which had a psychological connotation. By changing it to Pride and Prejudice, Austen has shifted the scope of her novel from psychological to moral. Tony Tanner comments on the title in these words. She wanted to show that our social failings are not just accidents of impression, but deep-seated habits of the mind that must be actively dismantled. Point 1. The novel itself provides the definition of these two terms through the words of bookish Mary Bennet. She says, "Pride relates more to our opinion of ourselves, prejudice to what others think of us." This indicates that the qualities of pride and prejudice are interrelated. In pride, one detaches oneself from other human beings by considering oneself superior. Prejudice is the opposite of pride. In prejudice, the self is completely involved with others and thinks that the actions of others are affecting the self. The self makes a distorted judgment and on this basis forms a negative opinion of the others. Both pride and prejudice lead to egoism and limits one's vision. At the Meryton Assembly, Darcy refuses to dance with Elizabeth, uttering the line that triggers her prejudice. "She is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me, and I am in no humor at present to give consequence to young ladies who are slighted by other men." This statement displays Darcy's pride both as an individual and as the member of upper class. He comments without actually knowing Elizabeth. His judgment is not a sound one. Elizabeth overhears this comment. Mr. Darcy walked off, and Elizabeth remained with no very cordial feelings towards him. This prejudice of Elizabeth does not allow her to see Darcy from any other angle. This is also a plot device as it drives the narrative forward. Point 2. Elizabeth's prejudice is reinforced when Darcy proposes her for the first time. He expresses his love and admiration for her in these words. "In vain have I struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you." But then he says that he has struggled to control his feelings. It is against reason and his better judgment to love her. He is implying that there is a class difference between them and there are some other issues as well, but he still loves her. Initially, Elizabeth is surprised at this expression of his feelings. She is a bit flattered too. This feeling does not last long. The more Darcy talked about his feelings, the more he revealed his pride and superiority. It is quite evident that he thinks his proposal would be received with gratitude. Elizabeth sees through it and rejects his proposal then and there. When Darcy asks her the reason for this rejection, she replies, "You chose to tell me that you liked me against your will, against your reason, and even against your character." She goes on and talks about Darcy's role in creating a rift between Jane and Bingley and also how he ruined the life of Mr. Wickham. In reply, Darcy says something which makes Elizabeth even angrier. He says, "Nor am I ashamed of the feelings I related. They were natural and just. Could you expect me to rejoice in the inferiority of your connections, to congratulate myself on the hope of relations, whose condition in life is so decidedly beneath my own?" This kind of superiority complex is totally unacceptable and Elizabeth rightly rejects his proposal. This creates an even bigger divide between the two. Point 3. The turning point comes soon after when she receives a letter from Darcy. Elizabeth initially reads it with a strong prejudice against everything he might say. She does not agree with his account of his involvement in Jane and Bingley affair. Then he tells her about Wickham and, for the first time, she begins to see Wickham in true colors. Her strong assessment of Darcy's character starts to change. In fact, she feels ashamed that she was wrong in many things. She grew absolutely ashamed of herself. Of neither Darcy nor Wickham could she think without feeling she had been blind, partial, prejudiced, absurd. At this point, she does not like him, but at least she does not hate him anymore. Point 4. 2 other episodes help to change her mind completely. First is when Lydia elopes with Wickham. This causes a great scandal for the Bennet family. Elizabeth comes to know that Darcy paid money to Wickham to marry Lydia. In this way, he helped to save the reputation of Bennet family. The second episode is when Elizabeth visits his home at Pemberley and meets the housekeeper Mrs. Reynolds. She tells Elizabeth that Darcy is the best landlord and the best master. She further adds, as a brother, a landlord, a master, she considered how many people's happiness were in his guardianship, how much of pleasure or pain was it in his power to bestow, how much of good of him was known by his housekeeper. Mr. Darcy unexpectedly arrives there and his behavior is most civil and gentlemanly. Her uncle and aunt also commend his civility. This is the point when every prejudice of Elizabeth is melted away. Her mind is open to give him a second chance. Conclusion. In the end, we can conclude that the title of the novel is aptly chosen. It summarizes the plot in the best possible manner. The pride of Darcy, at the very beginning of the novel, leaves such a strong impression on the mind of Elizabeth. Some other episodes contribute to cement that impression. Gradually, the muddied waters start to clear and things appear in their true colors. Elizabeth's development occurs when she comes out of her moral blindness. On the other hand, Darcy gets rid of his pride and superiority, and this helps him to love and admire Elizabeth. A.C. Bradley comments on the title in these words. The title provides a symmetrical design for the plot. It is not that one character owns pride and the other prejudice, rather, both characters are infected by both. The title represents the collision of two people who must each lose a vice to gain a virtue.